everyone. Welcome back to the Becoming Anchored podcast. We're so glad you're here with us for episode 3. So I'm Lauren Jackson.
And I am Laura Deneen.
Yeah, we're 2 therapists in the greater Nashville area. We're located in Brentwood, Tennessee. We're a small group private practice in kind of the heart of Brentwood. We specialize in working with eating disorders, grief, life transition, trauma, depression, anxiety, anyone through the lifespan. We love the work that we do, and we really had this dream to expand our reach, if you will, and so we decided to create this podcast. So we're so glad you are on this journey with us.
Yeah, and echoing Lauren, the purpose of this podcast, first and foremost, it's for us to be human with y'all and to share about our humanity. And so that means our lived experiences. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things here, from navigating friendships in adulthood to body image, to diet culture, to managing depression. And so we're here for all of it. And we're just here to ride the waves of life together with y'all. In every episode, we're going to be sharing both from our lived experiences and our experiences as therapists. We're going to be giving y'all a homework assignment after each episode, along with an affirmation to take with you.
And a quick disclaimer, this is not intended to be therapy or to replace any kind of therapy from a licensed professional. So if you're finding that as you engage and listen to our content that you could benefit from therapy, please either reach out to us if you're local. We would love to connect with you, or find someone local to you who's licensed and who can walk through therapy with you. So yeah, welcome to episode 3. Here we go.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the nuances of being a mom and also working full-time. So Lauren and I thought this topic was especially pertinent to us because we both work full-time. Lauren has so many different hats at Anchored Counseling. She sees clients, she supervises the team, she does office manager stuff, and it's a lot. And I own the company, and so I'm more in the big picture. Lauren's more in the nitty gritty, but we both are full-time working moms. I have a little girl at home. She just turned 15 months. I cannot believe it. And Lauren has a little boy at home. And so we get it on a deep level. And I just am here to say that I don't have all the answers. I know Lauren doesn't have all the answers either, but it's a lot, whether you work full time or whether you're a stay-at-home mom. We honor both walks of life, but working full time does add some kind of trickiness to, I think, someone's, especially a schedule, like your schedule as a full-time working mom. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about that. So yeah, we just wanted to talk about some of the things that maybe we face on a daily basis. So I know for me, I frequently feel pulled in many directions. I am very much a dreamer and a go-getter. And so I can have this big business idea and want to do all the things, but at the same time want to spend this precious quality time with my daughter. And so I've never before felt pulled in so many different directions, both as a boss, as an employer, and as a mother. And that can be one thing that's really tricky for me to navigate, is doing both well, right? Being present for my job at Anchored and being present for my little girl. I can find myself at night wanting to zone out close to her bedtime. And it's not because I don't love her. It's not because I don't care for her, but I'm kind of at my emotional capacity for the day. So being pulled in a lot of different directions is something that I have noticed recently, owning this business and then also caring for Marianne.
Laura, I'm curious, with that noticing, what do you do? Like, what do you do that's like unhealthy? And then what do you try and do that is like a healthy thing?
Oh my gosh. So we're just getting straight to it. there are times when we all want to scroll, right? Like there is something about it. I mean, first of all, it releases, it's a known dopamine agent, right? So it does release dopamine. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess the unhealthy mechanism of action, if you will, is like I get home, I lay on the couch, maybe I don't express that need to my husband, Sean, and then I'm just scrolling and I look up and like 30 minutes has passed and my daughter like goes to bed pretty early every night. And so then I'm like, oh gosh, I wish I had spent time with her. And I'm not saying there's never a place for scrolling, right? Like I think we can be really intentional with our phones. And if we really need that, we can set aside 15, 20, 25 minutes, whatever you need. So that would be an unhealthy kind of way that I manage that. Maybe a healthier way for me to do that if I'm really at my capacity and I get home would be me putting words to that with Sean of like, hey, honey, I need to go in the bedroom. I've had a really hard day.
Yeah.
I need a break and then I can recalibrate and then come back out to eat dinner with him.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, healthy. I listen to music on the way home. I love listening to podcasts on the way home. Sometimes I'll literally just sit in silence in the car and there's something so beautiful about that. You and I connect at the end of the day. I know that you know this, Lauren, but I think talking to people that support you and are in your corner and that if you need space to vent or like get emotional validation, there's room for that too. So sometimes I'll call my best friend and just have space for just all of my emotions that I had throughout the day or anything hard. So that would be probably a healthier way for me to connect and work through those emotions before I get home. But yeah, the art of noticing, I mean, I have therapy later this afternoon. Like, so even this morning I woke up and I was like, oh, what am I going to talk to my therapist about? And that came up of just like feeling pulled in a lot of different directions. And I have been noticing that. And so how can I really be intentional with my time and be thoughtful with my time? And I want to give to all these different people. And I'm a recovering perfectionist. So like, it's not going to go perfectly, but there's this part of me that wants it to go perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know I said a lot of different things there, but that's.
Yeah, I love all of that. Some thoughts that were coming up for me as you were talking. So again, circling back around to this idea of working mom, being a working mom. And if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a working mom. Like, let's not forget about that, right? I'm in the office 3 days a week for 8 to 10 hours. And then Mondays and Fridays, I'm at home kind of working, running errands. So I love it because I kind of get a little bit of both worlds, like really being engaged at the office and with staff, and then also getting to be at home and doing at home kind of mom things, you know, still during the work week. So that just feels like a really important balance for me. But anyways, coming back to some of the things I noticed when you were chatting, Laura, about some of the health and unhealth that you find when you're balancing the work-life piece with home life, is the unhealth that I think we can all find ourselves falling into is avoidance and shame. Those two things come to mind, and regardless of where you're at in part-time, full-time, stay-at-home, single mom, whatever it is. Maybe you're an aunt that is a caregiver for a niece or nephew. So this can be really broad too. I think when we start to get overwhelmed, when we maybe start to feel burnt out, when we've had a long emotional day, our tendency can be towards avoidance. I think anytime humans are uncomfortable, they avoid. I think that's just human nature. And then when we avoid something, we feel like I should be doing more, or I should have enough energy to play with my sweet boy when I get home, and I'm not, then I go to a place of shame. And so that feels like a pretty common cycle.
Yes.
And so I just love the countering that with noticing. That I feel like that is such fundamental work that I'm doing with all of my clients, that I'm doing in my own therapy work, is can I notice when those dysfunctional patterns are happening, and then figure out what like the real need is. And noticing helps us to have awareness around, am I getting burnout? Does something actually need a change? Do I need to ask for help? Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need, right? And so shame always gets in the way of us being able to notice something healthy or informational. So yeah, just that word noticing felt significant to me as an antidote to avoidance and shame, which speaks to this working mom life balance with home and whatever, but also so many other things that we could get into on different episodes. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. And thank you for validating that. Yeah, I can frequently go to a place of shame, and I think most perfectionists can at some point in their perfectionism, or as they've started to work through their perfectionism. And yeah, the noticing, in my own individual therapy, just that art, like you're talking about, allows for space for curiosity versus the harshness that can be so tied to shame. So I love that space, and it takes intention to slow down and notice and to be present with yourself, so that we can make different choices. And you know this, right? But over the past year, I have gotten to a place where I've had to delegate more, and delegating and asking for help and noticing that, okay, I was in a place of burnout, resisting shame even around that so that I can move forward in running the business well. And you know this, Lauren, but I would say the business is running better than it ever has because I've delegated and because I've asked for more help. And so that can be something too in my own journey where I have wanted to like do it all and be it all to everyone. And I think becoming a mom and wanting to still do things well from the business side has really allowed me the opportunity to ask for more help. And that has been so freeing for me, in a way that I've never been challenged to ask for help. Right. And so that's pushed me to ask for help. And it's been really sweet for me to see other people step up, like you, other people in my life that are amazing and skilled at what they do. And this idea that I don't have to do it all by myself all the time.
Yeah. Well, and your noticing helped you maybe to realize, oh, I maybe have a hard time asking for help, and I have this internal expectation that I can do it all, and maybe that is actually getting in my way. And so I'm going to challenge myself to practice asking for help, because that's an area maybe of growth for me. So the noticing like helps you to gather that information. Whereas the shame of what's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why don't I have enough energy to do this? Gets in the way of you being able to like gather that really amazing, beautiful, helpful information, as challenging as it is. We're not saying that then
Yes.
you get to having that information, it makes everything better and easy. No, it doesn't. But it certainly is, in the long run, like, I don't know the word I want to use. Good, for lack of a better word. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think too, just to tag along with what you're saying, it's like more fulfilling, because then I can do other things well. I can show up for my family of origin, my husband, my baby girl in a way that is in line with my values. And I know you and I talk about living according to our values, whether it's ourselves or helping our clients identify and then live according to their values. It allows me to do that. But yeah, I mean, the first kind of point that we're talking about, this idea of noticing, but in order to notice, we also have to set boundaries, right? So really, I think that is something that I so admire in you, just really preserving that family time as sacred. I know you've taught me so much about that, and I think there's such rich value in that. And it's kind of an art too, right? Where sometimes we're going to set a boundary where we want to be home earlier. Maybe sometimes we stretch and we work a little bit later in order to take the next day off. But really honing in on, I think, what our boundaries are as working mothers can be just so life-giving. So I feel like I've learned a lot from you in that regard of just preserving that precious time with your little boy so that you can show up well at the office.
Yeah. I'm not perfect at it by any means. And being a mom, which is what we're talking about, and then the working part of it too. I'm a, I guess you could say, a first-time mom. I mean, we both are, right? These are our first babies. And anybody who's listening to this, whether you're a mom to a biological child or not, it changes you. Like it truly, on like a very like visceral, spiritual level, like completely changes you. And so, it gives you, I think it gives you more capacity to love and to care for. And I think that's one of our superpowers as moms. And so figuring out how to make time to do that well, while doing the other things that we love that feel life-giving, like maybe working or whatever that is for you, is kind of integral. Like, it's really important to do. I thought, it's interesting, I thought when I found out I was pregnant with my son, Elwin, which that's a family name, by the way. Every time we tell people what his name is, they're like, oh, that is so cool. I've never heard that name. But yeah, when I found out I was pregnant with him, I wasn't going to be like super surprised if after like having him and then kind of going through my maternity leave that I maybe wouldn't want to like, I either wouldn't want to work anymore or I would want to work like way less. And it's so interesting how just like what I've learned about myself in this whole process, that I don't know if I would say, well, maybe I am working more than I did before I had him. I'm definitely working differently. But I love it so much. And I can't even imagine not having this work. It helps balance me. And I know that everybody's story around that is different. And so I think that's part of the noticing that has been important for me in this journey of becoming a mom and then getting back into the workplace and whatnot is realizing what my values are around family, around work, and how those can like be aligned. And then the balance of that every day is like a new adventure every single day. It feels like.
Thanks for sharing. And I completely agree. And that is my story too. I love this work. And Lauren is being very humble, you guys, but she's amazing at her work. And the cool thing about our positions is we get to dabble in a lot of different things where we see clients and we manage and we supervise and, I market and all these things that are life-giving for both of us. And if that's not your story, that's okay. I have a friend from college who just had her 5th baby and she's killing it. And she just is an amazing mom and she loves being a stay-at-home mom. And so we just want to definitely validate that if that's your story, that's so completely okay. And just to kind of tag along with what Lauren's saying, I think I find myself frequently in a space where when I'm at work, I sometimes miss Marianne. And then when I'm at home, I'm like, I want to be at work. And I can find myself like being kind of back to that, what we were first saying, like being pulled in a lot of these different directions. I have to really challenge myself to be present where I am, right? So when I'm with my daughter, I can have urges to want to check my email or to want to do something for advertising or marketing the business. And the reality is I'm not fully present if I'm doing those things. Or if I'm here, sometimes I do miss her, and coping with that emotion of sadness or maybe feeling some of that mom guilt is very real. And so really identifying what the need is there. Do I need to cut back on my hours, or, do I need to be more intentional about spending one-on-one time with her? What need is there when I'm feeling that emotion is really helpful for me. But yeah, that swing of like, okay, I want to be at work or I want to be home. I very much experience that pretty frequently.
Yeah, totally.
And then too, I feel like one of the things that's been so cool in my marriage is just like really looking at the gender roles. So those of you that know me that are listening to this podcast know that I love good food. And I also am not the greatest cook. And so one of the things that's been really life-giving in terms of being a full-time mom is my husband and I really having a conversation around him really getting home earlier and starting dinner. And that's been so freeing for me. And I usually do the dishes, but he cooks our meals most of the time. And just permission to be in that spot versus like, I'm the wife and I should be cooking 100% homemade meals all the time. Like last night, we had a pizza and salad for dinner and it was from Trader Joe's and it was amazing. But, it's pizza on a Tuesday night and that's just like permission, I think has been really, really helpful for me as a full-time working mom. And really reevaluating some of those gender roles, I think, in my marriage has been helpful.
And recognizing too that maybe there's some individuals or folks listening who aren't married and have kids.
Totally.
And that adds a whole nother element of working mom, work-life balance that I don't have experience with. Like, I can't necessarily speak to my own experience around that. I have, like Laura, the privilege of being able to navigate balancing work and life with my partner, with my husband. And I think one of the things that is important for me to do is to be mindful of my gratitude in that and allow that to like aid in me noticing and knowing what I need and asking for help and paying attention to this dysfunctional thing and doing the healthy thing instead. And so just to name that and to recognize that for any of you guys out there who are listening who have a really different experience than where Laura and I maybe are coming from right now.
Yeah, and I appreciate you like pointing that out, Lauren. I think, we do have so many privileges and even the ability to set our schedules, like we recognize those and that's not lost on us. And there's probably some that we don't even recognize. So, there's so much even in this episode that we probably haven't even begun to cover. And so we absolutely recognize that and want to name that. Yeah. So I appreciate you bringing light to that, Lauren.
Yeah. Yeah. And these conversations that Laura and I have that we're having here are really like meant to like help start the conversation and helps like kind of spark the curiosity for you guys and for us. 'Cause that's really ultimately what we're doing with our clients as well. So, we say that we're always becoming, right? Becoming anchored. There's not a destination there's not this like arrival point where we're always becoming, we're always in process. So, hopefully this has sparked some curiosity in you to start noticing a little bit more around your working mom life, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Lauren said, it's just kind of the tip of the iceberg, right? Yeah. And, just that like, okay, here's a thought for you to marinate on or an idea for you to kind of look at from different perspectives and you take what you see as valuable or as important to your life and you leave the rest. And that's what we encourage with our clients as well. So Lauren's actually got some homework for you guys as well, just to maybe think about after this recording.
So a couple of thoughts practical thoughts for you to take away with you. So developing a inner self-compassion voice is always kind of foundational to any internal work we do. And so we wanted to encourage you guys to practice compassion around your working motherhood, because we live in a culture that says you can do it all and you should be able to do it all. And I am here to tell you that you can't. and you were never meant to do it all. And so have compassion for yourself around that. So that can look like paying attention to your internal dialogue and practicing reframing that. That can look like writing down your internal dialogue and reframing some thoughts that are critical to more compassionate. That can look like having some dialogue with a friend of like, hey, here are these critical thoughts I'm having. Can you help me reframe them? There are a few different, ways that you guys can practice self-compassion. There's a really amazing book called Self-Compassion that I recommend to everybody all the time, everywhere I go. So it's literally called Self-Compassion. It's by Kristen Neff. So that's homework part A. Part B is to find if you don't already have a support system of kind of like-minded people, maybe in a similar season or boat as you, try and connect with some people that can relate and empathize, because we do best and heal best in relationship and in community. And then, of course, notice, right? So practice noticing what you need, what you're feeling, how you can get those needs met around balancing work and home and motherhood.
I love all of it. And then I'm just going to leave y'all with an affirmation. So this was not planned. This is kind of on the fly, but based on what we talked about, just this idea of I give myself permission to show up imperfectly. So it's twofold, right? It's both the permission piece and showing up imperfectly. And like Lauren said, we can't do it all. So I think that is just helpful for that, and asking for help and all the things that we covered in today's episode. So I give myself permission to show up imperfectly. And I'm going to take that with me today as well. So thanks for being here today on the Becoming Anchored podcast. We're so glad to have y'all. See you next time.
Bye, guys.